What's going on, everybody? My name's Danny, and today's flavor of the week is on Reworked Warwick. You know what they say, new year, new me, new year, new Warwick. Warwick went from being the literal easiest jungler in the game to this thing. In my opinion, Warwick seems to have taken a step back in usefulness. On one hand, he's really good if he gets ahead, but if he gets behind, he's more useless than the condom in the Pope's wallet. People say he's like the next Shyvana because you build a blood resistant Titanic Hydra, then go straight tanky, but it just doesn't work as well. Unlike Shyvana, Warwick actually has reliable CC, and unlike Warwick, Shyvana actually still does damage mid to late game. Although his Q does a decent bit of damage and heals him, being his only damaging ability makes it hard to do any reliable damage. His W is actually pretty good, but most people won't understand how it works until playing him for a bit. His E is honestly pretty busted at rank 5, with near Alistair levels of damage reduction, but you have to max it last because you're useless without maxing the other two abilities. And now his ult is a skill shot, which wouldn't be a problem for somebody unless you're like me and incompetent. He's got a pretty good kit, but none of the skills mesh really well together. You don't do enough damage to warrant building more damage, but you don't get tanky enough to warrant building more tanky stats. But there is still one place that Warwick can thrive. Warwick in 3v3 is honestly pretty disgusting, although maybe it's just because I played against people without hands. I honestly just played it because one of my friends knew I was making a Warwick video and told me he was doing good in 3v3, so I gave it a try. And I'm like 5-0 with him. That number isn't that impressive, but considering these are the only 5 games of 3v3 I've played in like 2 years, I'll take it as a win. 3v3 is entirely about the early game, which is Warwick's strong point. You don't play long enough for people to get super tanky, but games don't only last long enough to have built a couple of damage items. And the altar buffs actually fix his big problem, which is mana and movement speed. It's actually a lot of fun, and I recommend trying it out. Okay, now back to what people actually care about.
Damn, Stash.
I have nothing else to do. I don't know what to do. Ah! I had nowhere to go.
For runes, I'm honestly still messing around with them, but a solid page is AD Reds, Armor Yellows, MR Blues, and either AD Attack Speed or Movement Speed Quints. For Masteries, I take an 18-0-12 page with Fervor because when you hit somebody with your ult, it almost fully stacks it. I take the 12 points in Resolve because I'd rather have the utility. Warwick's items are pretty much what you'd expect. You start with Red Smite Bloodrazor for better dueling and damage, or Red Smite Cinderhulk for more tankiness. For boots, you should get Ninja Tabbies, Merc Shreds, Swiftness Boots, or Mobility Boots depending on the game. You eventually get the Titanic Hydra, but usually you just buy a Tiamat early and upgrade it after a couple tank items. Pretty standard tank items of Warwick are Deadman's Plate and Spirit Visage. The last item you get is pretty flexible. A safe pick is always Guardian Angel. Another couple of items you can swap into your build are Randuin's Omen, Frozen Heart, or Iceborne Gauntlet. While looking through the item builds for this video, I saw that Yuna built Frozen Mallet on it one game, and though I haven't personally tried it yet, I think it might have some potential. Warwick's passive is called Eternal Hunger, and gives Warwick's autos bonus on-hit magic damage. When Warwick is under 50% health, he heals for the same amount of damage his passive deals, and when Warwick is under 25% health, he heals for triple the damage. And no, the healing doesn't stack with other on-hit items, only his passive damage. Warwick's Q is called Jaws of the Beast, and this is where so much of your damage and healing comes from. Warwick dashes onto the target and fucking bites them. If you hold down Q and release it, then he locks his teeth into his target, so if they try to get away by flashing, dashing, or blinking, he follows them and ends up behind them. Oh, and Warwick can't be displaced while he's latched on. This ability has no base damage, but does so much damage at the same time because it scales 120% of your AD, 90% of your AP, and 6 to 10% of the target's max health depending on your Q's rank as magic damage. Not only that, but Warwick also heals for 30 to 70% of the damage dealt. Those are fucking ridiculous in the tank meta. 10% max health damage while healing for 70% of the damage while also having a Spirit Visage to increase the healing. And to top it off, your Q also applies on-hit effects such as Titanic Hydra and Iceborne Gauntlet. Warwick's W is called Blood Hunt. Warwick can passively and globally sense all enemies below 50%, and if the enemy is a champion, they have a scent trail leading to them. If Warwick attacks an enemy under 50% health, then he gains 50 to 110 bonus attack speed based on the rank of the W. If Warwick follows the blood trail towards an enemy champion, he gains 35 to 55% movement speed towards them. If an enemy is under 20% HP, the attack speed bonus and movement speed bonus are tripled. So rank 5, if you're chasing an enemy under 20% health, you gain 330% attack speed and 165% movement speed. The active on Warwick's W allows him to sense all enemies in a 5,000 unit radius, and the nearest enemy champion acquires the Blood Scent passive even if they're over 50% health, which also lets Warwick know where they are by following the trail. This is a pretty broken ability that's made up for by its 2-minute cooldown rank 1 and 1-minute cooldown rank 5. However, every second that you don't sense an enemy champion with Blood Scent, the cooldown goes down twice as fast. Warwick's E is called Primal Howl. Upon activation, Warwick gains a mini Alistar ult and takes 35 to 55% damage reduction over 2 seconds. After the 2 seconds, or upon reactivation, Warwick fears all enemies around him for 1 second. If you hit somebody with your ult while Primal Howl is active, it will immediately reactivate but will not fear the person you hit with your ult. This boosts his tanky stats while also having semi-reliable CC. The only problem is that you generally max this last because you're pretty useless without maxing the other two. Warwick's ultimate is Infinite Duress. It's pretty much exactly the same as Zold ult, except now you have to Gnar leap towards the person you want to ult, and if you miss, there goes your 110 second cooldown suppression. You leap towards an enemy, and if you land it, they get suppressed for 1.5 seconds. Your leap has no base range, instead the range is 250% of your current movement speed. Good news though, Warwick's ult can't be interrupted while he's jumping, so if you miss, you just look like more of a dumbass. Your ult applies... what are these numbers? 58.3, 116.7, or 175 magic damage every 0.5 seconds. Warwick applies on-hit effects every 0.5 seconds as well, so that means every half a second, the opponent takes your passive magic damage, the magic damage from your ult, and on-hit effects from items such as Titanic Hydra. That's so much damage, however it's so easily stopped. Any form of displacement or hard CC will interrupt your ult. Also, your ult damage scales off of... okay, who the fuck makes these numbers? Your ult damage scales with 58.83% of your bonus AD. Warwick also heals for 100% of the damage dealt during Infinite Duress. Your skill max is going to be Q, then W, then E. So what's my opinion of the new Warwick? Like on paper he's extremely strong with tons of damage and healing, even damage reduction, but just, it doesn't feel great to play. That's not saying he isn't fun, he's so much fun to play, but he just feels underwhelming. He has a major strength in being a champion that has AD scalings that do magic damage, while also being a strong auto attack champion, so building against him early is pretty difficult. He still has the potential to blow up a squishy carry, but in a meta that is so CC heavy, good luck staying on them. In low elo, he's a really good champion to punish mistakes such as being caught out of position, but the higher you go, the less and less likely that you can capitalize on mistakes simply because less mistakes are being made. It's still very possible to hard carry as Warwick, don't get me wrong. He's really good at taking advantage of people who just don't understand what he does yet. But overall, he's like a B- jungler right now. He's not unplayable, but he's not top tier. He's easily outclassed by top tier junglers, but he's not bad enough to not warrant play. I do think he's really fun and I recommend trying him, just give it some time to get a hang of his new kit. Thank you all very much for watching, my name's Danny, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Dayman. Oh, fighter of the night, man. Oh,
champion of the
suns
he's the master of karate and friendship for everyone. Nice man. Oh shit! Wait, no, it's a Dayman. Yeah, it's still Dayman. Dayman. Oh.